and welcome to another installment of Wellness While We Wait. My name is Josh TenHaken-Riedel, and I work here in University Ministries. And for those of you who this is your first time joining us for Wellness While We Wait, it is a collaborative effort between University Ministries, Fitness and Recreation, and Counseling Services to provide you with some tips and resources and ways of connection during this time of disruption. Now, I don't know how you're feeling or what these last few weeks have been like for you, but for me, I feel pretty unsettled most of the time. I feel a little restless and anxious. The uncertainty of not knowing when I'll get to work in my office again, when students will be, normal connection with students, what that looks like, when I'll find toilet paper at the store. I don't know when all that's going to happen, and that causes some disruption and internal anxiety and unsettledness. Some days I feel sad for those who are out of a job or who are in the hospital or even have tragically lost a loved one to the virus. And I have all these emotions, and I'm struggling some days to find ways to sort of process these emotions in ways that are healthy and grounding. One thing I have found that has been helpful is getting outside. That has been a really helpful practice for me, and I want to talk just a little bit about what that looks like and some of the ways I think that it can be beneficial to us. Now, there's been lots of research on getting outside and spending time in nature and how that impacts us and the benefits physically, mentally, emotionally. I want to list just a few of those. Getting outside, spending time outside, anywhere from about 15 to 20 minutes on average a day. So again, that's an average, could be an hour one day. If it's raining, you're not able to get outside the next day, whatever. Lower blood pressure and lower stress levels, lower anxiety levels has been correlated with. Increased self-esteem and just general increased mood. So our bodies become more relaxed at ease, our minds become a little bit more relaxed, more at ease when we spend time outside. Now, in some places, some of the parks are starting to shut down. Some state parks I know have shut down. But if you're able to get out to a state park, or if there's a greenway or a trail somewhere by you, get out there, take a walk. Obviously, practice social distancing. Make sure to keep appropriate distance between yourself if you're walking with somebody else. But just get outside, go on a walk on a trail, places designated for outdoor recreation. You might want to also find a place at night to get away from the city, away from the lights. I live in the city. It's hard to see the stars at night, but find a place where you can be in an open field and there's not a lot of city lights, and you can just look up and look at the stars. Look at how big and vast the sky is at night. You also can just do something super simple. Just take a walk around your neighborhood. This is springtime, and there's all sorts of wonderful sights and sounds and smells that come with spring. So you might consider taking just a 10-minute walk around the block and just noticing what you see, looking at the different shades of green in the trees and the bushes and the plants that are blooming, looking at all the different colors of flowers. Listen to the sounds of the birds. There's some birds in the background right now you might be able to hear. Smelling the smell of fresh cut grass. That's one of my favorite smells of springtime, is the fresh cut grass, or the smell of fresh rain after a few days of no rain. Just getting outside. If it's raining, sit on your front porch and listen and watch the rain, or just let it be a soothing sound for you. There's lots of different ways to get connected. It can be super simple. It doesn't have to be this big excursion, this big, huge hike. Just find some simple ways to get outside. Doing your homework outside, opening a window even, and just listening to the sounds all around you. I mentioned a moment ago some of the physical and mental and emotional benefits of connecting with creation, connecting with nature. But I think that connecting with nature and connecting with creation is also really nourishing at a spiritual level. In Genesis 1, in the creation story, the writer says over and over again that God saw what he had made and he saw that it was good. And we hear that refrain time and time again in the creation story. And I think as we look around us, we see that creation, the nature, the outdoors is good, and it's filled with God's goodness. And I think we experience God's presence when we get outside and experience creation. Now, whether you're an outdoorsy person, someone who loves to camp and hike, or whether you're more of a glamping person, wherever you are on that spectrum, I think all of us were created to connect with God through creation, through spending time in nature. The other thing I think getting outside, connecting with creation does for us on a spiritual level is it reminds us of God's faithfulness. Now, in times like this, when it feels like our world is in chaos and there's so much going on that feels uncertain and hard, and there's pain and there's death even, it can be easy to lose sight of God's presence. It can be easy to doubt God's faithfulness. It can be easy to ask, God, where are you? And those are good questions. Those are good questions and okay feelings. It's okay to doubt. It's okay to have those questions of where are you, God, in the midst of this? And at the same time, I think it's really helpful for us to find practices that remind us of God's faithfulness and presence with us. We're in the middle of spring, and spring is one of my favorite seasons, specifically because it's a time when what was once dead is now coming alive. Just a couple of weeks ago, most of the trees in my neighborhood were brown and dead and looked lifeless. Now most of those trees are bursting with flowers and are green and are filled with life. And they serve as a reminder to me that what we're experiencing, despite all the hardship, despite all that's going on, all the pain and sorrow and loss and death and grieving, in the midst of all of that, it's a reminder that it's not the end of the story. That one day God's going to come and make all things new again. He's going to redeem all that is broken, and new life is coming. And I think simply getting outside and looking at the new life bursting forth all around us reminds us of that promise that we have in God. Now, all throughout Scripture, we hear of this promise, and many of the times the writers of Scripture ground this promise in the images of creation. And so as we come to a close, I want to read just a very short passage from Isaiah of a reminder of God's faithfulness in the images of creation. This is from Isaiah 55, if you want to return to it at a later time and maybe meditate on that as you're outside even. So you'll go out in joy, and you'll be led into a whole and complete life. The mountains and hills will lead the parade, bursting with song. And all the trees of the forest will join the procession, exuberant with applause. No more thistles, but giant sequoias. No more thorn bushes, but stately pines. Monuments to me, to God, living and lasting evidence of God. I pray as you go about your day, wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing, that you would experience creation as God's blessing, that you would experience peace as you get out and connect with creation, that you'd look around and see all there is to see as living and lasting monuments to God and His faithful love for us. Blessings and peace to you.